Vladimir Putin has claimed victory in Russia's presidential election, handing him another 6 years in power. Many opponents gathered at polling centres on the final day of voting. Queues swelled in Russia and at embassies around the world. People were encouraged to show their dissent and spoil their ballot or vote for any candidate apart from the incumbent.
This is my first vote in the Russian presidential elections. Even if my vote does not affect anything, my conscience will be clear for myself and, as I believe, for the future that I want to see for our country.
There is a terrible divide in our society when good and kind people fear that they are alone. But here they see that they are not alone. That is really important.
114 million voters were eligible to cast a ballot. Turnout is estimated at almost 75%. Election officials say Mr Putin attracted almost 88% of the vote. 3 candidates stood against the long-serving leader. None were considered real challengers. Mr Putin's most prominent opponent, Alexei Navalny, died suddenly in an Arctic prison last month. From Berlin, his widow thanked those who turned out to protest.
You're probably wondering what I wrote on the ballot papers, who I voted for. Of course, I wrote Navalny's surname, because it can't just be that a month before the election and already during the presidential campaign, Putin's main opponent, already imprisoned, was murdered.
The result allows Vladimir Putin to overtake Josef Stalin and become Russia's longest-serving leader in more than 200 years. The former KGB lieutenant colonel has been in power since 1999. He says the election means Russia will become stronger and more effective.
People came to create the conditions for internal political consolidation to move forward. This unity will allow us to act effectively on the front line, in the economy, humanitarian development, achieving the goals of social development projects. We have huge development plans. People felt that and came to create the conditions for development and the strengthening of their fatherland, Russia.
The election took place 2 years after Mr Putin invaded Ukraine in what he called a special military operation. Over the 3 days of voting, Kiev has been blamed for repeated attacks on Russian oil refineries. Ukraine's president calls the election illegitimate.
These days, the Russian dictator is simulating another election. Everyone understands that this actor, as it has happened many times in history, is sick for power and is doing everything to rule forever. There is no evil that he hasn't committed to continue his personal power. There's nobody in the world that is safe from this.
The White House says the election was neither free nor fair. The result means Vladimir Putin will lead Russia until at least 2030. He'll then be 77 years old.